Welcome, everyone, to All the Way Down, episode 16. How y'all doing?
I'm doing well,
Yeah,
but
I was asking them, actually. I was waiting for them to answer. If you could
Oh
just hold off
shit.
for a second. Anyway, how are you doing, buddy?
Quite well. Things are going around here. But you, how are you?
I'm good. I didn't do at all what I said I was going to do last week, which was do E3 research. Because the only E3 research that I managed to, well, not research, but E3 info that I found was people just going, "God damn, that sucked," and it was really demotivating trying to find anything. So,
Oh,
I,
yeah. The public reception of E3 was pretty low this year. One thing I was surprised about was that Sony meant it when they said that they weren't doing E3 this year.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
I
they
like
didn't do
because
E3 for the past couple of years, did they?
I don't know.
They've always
Did
done the
nah
state of
they
play.
Oh, it did they? Okay, so they've been pulling a Nintendo for a while.
Actually,
Because
I
like
want to say
Nintendo for
yeah. I want to say
a
they
long
kind
time
of.
ago.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it was years ago that Nintendo was the first like big dudes to pull out of E3 and just say we're
Mm.
doing a direct instead. Um, and then for years though, Microsoft and Sony still did a press conference, and then like Bethesda started doing one, and Square Enix started doing one, and Ubisoft, and but
Yeah.
now But now you're saying for multiple years Sony hasn't done theirs, huh?
I'm pretty sure Sony pulled out like midway through the PS4's life and said, "We got
Okay.
enough to show off. We need our own stand."
Yeah, well, come to think of it, their press conferences started to get really overly like ambitious and kind of pretentious where there was like that one year where everybody sat down in the arena, whatever it is, right? They sat down at the stage and Sony's conference started and they played like one trailer. Maybe it wasn't even a trailer, it was just like a musical performance or something. And then they had everybody get up and file to this other place where they were actually doing their press conference. They had like a tent outside or something. Uh
That's weird.
this w- yeah, I remember watching the coverage of it. Like Jeff Gersman of Giant Bomb was the one who was there, and I was watching like the other Giant Bomb people who were back watching the stream, right? And they had to call him and just be like, What's going on right now?" you know. And he's explaining that like, yeah, they had to have everybody file into this other place where then they showed them the rest of the press conference. And it all seemed very what's
Fishy,
the word when it doesn't need to happen?
superlative.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like it seems like then they were kind of going that way for a while because E3 is one of those things where I mean, I don't know how this shit works, how the event planning goes or anything like that, but I assume there's probably a lot of money being exchanged, hand to hand about who can have what time slot, how far, how long they can go on stage. And, Sony being literally the biggest in gaming probably just went fuck it, why don't we have our own, but if they were trying to funnel people out of the show to their tent for like additional time, it's like, were they just trying to save money or were they testing the waters or
I think it was supposed to be an experience. Because this was when I believe this was when they showed The Last of Us 2.
oh
Uh, Yeah, yeah. But yeah, their conferences for a while were always like, here they've got the whole orchestra and some like ridiculous visual thing going on, and they would have lengthy times of just like, self masturbatory stuff. Which I kind of like, I liked that it shows like some confidence that's not just like, suits saying big words. That
yeah.
bugs me. Speaking of suits saying big words, Verizon had a E3 show this year.
What?
So, getting to this year's E3, yeah, one thing that I didn't know about last week that I only learned is apparently Verizon had a show. So
What did they
that's
show?
I don't I you know, um
Out
I
of
I don't really know. Nothing that I remember.
How to pay
Uh,
$3,000 to get 3 feet of cabling if you live somewhat out of suburbia.
oh,
How
dude.
about that
Yeah.
conference? Can we have that conference? Fuck getting decent internet in the sticks, man. It sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, that I used to live in Minneapolis, and the one thing that sucked about moving out was that the block that I lived on was just getting fiber internet installed as we moved out.
That sucks.
But so yeah, I don't even really remember what Verizon showed. I mean, I don't even know if it was mobile focused, but it was like very corporate, you know. Uh, but yeah, I don't really have much to say about E3 because really for me the big stuff was Metroid Dread,
Yeah, I didn't even watch the
and
trailer for that.
that's it.
I'm
That
I need to though.
yeah, definitely check out the trailer for that. If you know what Samus Returns looked like on 3DS, where it had like the 360-degree aiming, it looks like it's gonna have that again,
I
and like the
didn't even
parrying.
I didn't even know Samus Return got a 3DS remake, so that's news to me because I only have ever owned the Game Boy version.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's that game where like, there's the lava that keeps you from going down and you got to kill enough Metroids and then it
Do
goes
they
down
preserve
and
the soundtrack? Because that soundtrack is amazing.
I don't specifically remember too much about the soundtrack. I'm sure that it probably had at least the main
Hmm.
theme of that game in it. But yeah, it had, and then there's like the alpha, beta, gamma Metroids where the first ones are just like the pod kind of, and you got to kind of shoot them in the ass. But then there's like the ones later that crawl, and then there's the ones later that look like a big alien, you know. So it had all that stuff in it. But the big thing that like kind of really made it stand out as a Metroid game is that you could aim in like 360 degrees, because of the
Yeah.
3DS's analog. So yeah, you held down instead of there being a button that's aim up. They all did it kind of differently. Super Metroid was like R aims up and L aims down diagonally, but then the Game Boy Advance ones made it so that L, and maybe I got those mixed up by the way, but that's the point. But then the Game Boy Advance ones made it so that L like aims up and then you press down once while holding L and then that aims diagonally down. It sounds kind of weird, but it's fine.
It seems like
And
it's the
then
Metroid equivalent to Castlevania's Super Castlevania 4, where you get to whip in 360 degrees or just have control of it.
but that's 8 directional.
Oh, really?
So the 3DS one now is like when you hold that R button or whatever it was to aim, now you use the analog stick and like the animation looks really good. The way that like the character has this full aiming arc to their body position, you know? And yeah, you can aim anywhere and you get a laser to guide you a little bit. And then the other big thing that that one did to set it apart was that you could parry enemies. So like enemies would do like melee attacks on you where they had this little glint, like pling, as they attacked, and you could do this gun swipe melee that would parry them, and then that would like go into a cool move where they would get knocked back, and you would, if you hit the aim button, you would automatically aim at them, so then you could like hit him with a missile or something.
Oh, okay. Like a
Um,
little combo thing going on.
yeah. Yeah, like it kind of reminded me of Metroid Other M, the way that that game, like Other M was really actiony, where like
That's a Wii game, right?
yeah, that one was on Wii, and so the thing about Other M was that it was third person. It was 3D, but it was third person. So unlike Prime, where they went to 3D, they made it first person. This one you can run. There's like sections that are side scrolling 2.5D kind of, but then there's also parts that go back and forth and parts that go all around. So like it feels third person, right? And that one had a lot of like like cool stuff in it that you could do, like jump onto an enemy and you would like mount the enemy and then you could shoot him in the head and stuff. And like doing some like real fancy character action Devil May Cry-ish kind of stuff, right?
I hate that
And
the first thing that comes to my mind is actually Dante's Inferno, because I think that was the first intro to that kind of game that I ever played before I got into God of War.
oh,
So it's like,
oh yeah, that's unfortunate.
I know,
Dante's Inferno is
but the thing is,
man.
because I didn't have a way to compare it against like God of War or Devil May Cry, I didn't know what was bad. So I got all the way through that game and beat it. And the ending wasn't really satisfactory, but getting there wasn't too. I mean, I got to the end, so it was at least that good.
Okay, yeah, I played it. I mean, I played like the demo of it
Oh,
and was just like, this is just God of War, but like half of
with
God of War minus all the cool ideas and
yeah,
minus all the cool shit.
literally half the blades too, because you have a scythe, and just a scythe is never going to be as actiony as two swords.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
the other weapons he gets after he beat. Well, this is God of War 3, but oh my god, dude, nothing. I don't think any other like hack and slash kind of game has ever simulated the the sheer like testosterone flow I got uh robbing Hercules of his giant lion brass fist weapons and
mm-hmm.
beating his face into a bowl, like a bloody just pulp, as you go down into Hades on the fall down from Mount, god damn it, what's the Mount Olympus. Yeah,
Mount Olympus.
yeah, I was
Is
thinking
that the
Vesuvius.
is that the particular kill where they let you sit there and mash the button for
Yes.
literally
Just
as long as you want, of Kratos just
just
smashing his face? At some
digging
point the
in.
screen is just at some point the
Blood.
screen is 100% covered in blood
Yep.
and you can just sit there and keep mashing it. Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't
God
know
of
that.
War 3 is a hell of a
It
game.
is so good. It takes what you like about God of War 1 and 2 and just cranks it the fuck up and adds more. Like honestly, like I've been a Mortal Kombat fan my whole life, and the gore from that fight, like nothing has been more like, oh, did I really just do that in a video game? Like that beats
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat for me. That specific fight.
For me, I think the one thing that I'll never forget in God of War 3 is when you kill Helios. When it's like
Yes.
you fight Helios and Kratos just fucking mounts him and gets his hands under his chin, and you get this like close up shot of him just straight up just tearing his fucking head off.
Oh,
It, it,
so
it's
brutal.
it's so gnarly.
I was like,
Um,
flinching when I did that the first time. I was like, oh, whoa.
yeah,
The
and then
PS3 does have good graphics.
and then you just use his head as a lantern for the rest of the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
God of War 3 is a cool fucking game.
Yeah,
And like you
it doesn't
mentioned,
let you forget that.
the weapons were really cool because yeah, you get the chain blades that he
Hmm.
always has,
Yeah.
but then like Hades' weapon was really cool, where it was like a couple like hooks
Hmm.
on chains. So it's still on chains, but they made him feel a little bit different. Like the
Yeah.
biggest thing I remember was that normally in the game you have a dodge roll, but if you have the Hades hooks equipped, instead he like throws the hooks over and pulls himself in a direction.
Yeah, they added
Um,
mechanics to it, and they also made it so like they'll have different kinds of damage, like well, not different kinds of damage, like blunt or slash, not like that, but like the damage that they did seemed inversely proportional to the range it handicaps you from your normal chainsword swing range.
oh yeah,
like
yeah.
like Hercules is just gigantic metal lion heads for fist weapons. The range was the smallest in the game, but oh my god, it was so fun because when you hit, you felt like that giant like ka-tung, like you felt like a whole person just like get launched back from a single blow to the face. It was crazy. Loved it. My favorite weapon in the entire
Yeah.
game.
I also really liked what they did where they had it so that your magic attacks were bound to what weapon you had equipped also.
Oh.
So it
Hmm.
it didn't get too like menu confusing because I feel like God of War 2 might have done that, but I
It
only played
did.
God of War 2 once, so I don't really
Did
remember.
you beat it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I only played it once as well. I just want to make sure you got the full story though.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a great
Um,
story too. You feel so fucking badass as Kratos.
yeah, I've been playing. I actually just today in the mail I got God of War 1 and 2 for PS2
Mm,
because I've been thinking about replaying them. I have God of War 1 already, but it's the greatest hits. It's like
yeah.
the only game in my collection for PS2 that's greatest hits, so
I
got a
played
black
them
label of that.
I actually played them digitally. That's how I got into God of War because, well, okay. So truth be told, my friend Tyler begged me to get or play 3 because it's an amazing game, rightfully so. But I was like, I want to get the story down. So I download off PSN on the PS3 at the time, the first 2, beat them because hey, it's upscaled and all this, but I actually played my PS3 on a CRT at the time because we were broken. There was an old TV in our bedroom. I was like, that's here to stay.
Mhm.
But so I played CRT, PS3, PS2 emulation of God of War 1 and 2 together. And I don't remember not if that's the HD remaster that I bought later or if it was legit just the PS2 games emulated. But either way, on a CRT, I didn't have any problem with the graphics whatsoever. I mean, I could tell that they weren't as good as God of War 3, but who cares? The games were good. 2 definitely got a little convoluted with the magic, from what I remember from what you said. But yeah, I have no desire to play them again unless I just want to get the story all over again. But like, I need to play. I haven't played God of War 4 yet. Everyone tells me I need 4 so bad.
I have no interest in it. If
Really?
you're talking about the reboot.
Reboot? Would you call it a reboot?
Well, it's just called God of War, and he's
What?
got like, yeah, it's not called God of War 4. It's not even called God of 4. It's just called God of War.
I've only ever heard people call it God of War 4.
Kind of like Doom 4 when people talk about that.
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
Did I just is this
Also, it's like, isn't it like Norse mythology instead of Greek
Well,
mythology and
yeah, so
everything? I think it's a full-on reboot.
that's why I asked why you thought it was a reboot because the lore in 3, I want to say, is that's when he accomplishes everything that he wants to so and so and jumps off the cliff, but then like if you stay past the credits, there's evidence that he definitely didn't die. He's obviously not dead because he moves on with his life and has a son. Where he
Yeah,
gets
which is
through to the Norse universe, I
bullshit,
don't know
by the
how it
way.
works.
Bullshit, by the way. Why
What?
didn't they just end the story with him killing himself? That was that. It's the very first. It's like the way that the whole trilogy opens and shit. I don't know. I thought I was annoyed by the fact that they uh they did the ending that was deserved, and then like went at the end, and I don't know.
I don't
But
know. It never really bothered me. I didn't think I didn't really get the sense or feeling that suicide was gonna be the end, but it was alluded to ever since the very beginning of the series. So
yeah.
they kind of had to show it to you. So I was like, "There's no way he's dead after this. No way." And now apparently, he's out there in Valhalla now. I don't know what's going on. I don't even know the story of how he got there, how they explain it or anything. I actually don't even think the kid is his son. I'm pretty sure his son is adopted. But I again haven't played it. I don't know. So
Right, right. But yeah, on that original trilogy, I think a lot of people dismiss God of War for being a hack and slash, or like a button mashy kind of game. But I don't know. I thought the games were very, very good. Because the thing that they do, like, yes, in order to strike your enemies, you use square for weak attack, and then you end your combo with triangle on strong attack, right? And that's mashy. But the game's got multiple weapons that feel very different from each other. Even the first game had that big sword that you get, that's short range and super powerful. So you got multiple weapons. On top of multiple weapons, you've got grab attacks as well as your regular strong and weak attacks. You've got magic, you've got the bow and shit. So you have all these different tools, and they give you a whole bunch of different enemies and enemy varieties that make you use all these different tools, right? Some enemies you got to use the bow on, or at least you very much should. Some enemies you got to use grab attacks on. You know, some enemies, when they attack you, you should dodge roll, but other enemies, when they attack you, you should block, right?
Okay, so what would you
And
define as a hack and slash? Like, name a
I
game for
mean,
that.
it is a hack and slash.
Oh.
I'm just saying people I think hack and slash has too much of a negative stigma on it, where when
Oh,
people hear that,
I don't think it's
they assume that the gameplay has no depth. That's what I'm getting at. I think people dismiss God of War as having no depth to its combat, and I'm saying it does.
uh I mean, I guess I can see that only in that people think a hack and slash is like I never thought it was derogatory, but it does ring of like arcadey kind of beat 'em up, that kind of thing, where you don't associate games like that with having a whole lot of an emotional appeal or touching you in a certain way, you know. That sounded
Yeah.
silly,
Well,
but
most of what I hear though is people are just, oh, the combat's so lame, you just mash buttons and everything dies, right?
oh,
And
so
that's
people are saying that's what
so
a hack and
not
slash
what
is.
God of War is like. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because particularly, I mentioned like the thing that always really impressed me with God of War is that like I mentioned that the different enemy types have like different ways that you have to deal with them, and then what the games are always so good at is giving you different combinations of those enemies all the time. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time they would introduce a new enemy to you, like a big troll, and you'd fight one of them, right? And it's like, and then you learn how to fight it. Oh, I get it. I gotta dodge roll this attack. Here's my opportunity to attack. Oh, and you end the fight by grappling him. Okay, I get it now. Then immediately, now you fight two of them at once. Oh shit, right? Then now also there's these other guys that you're fighting at the same time that you're fighting two of them. Now that you've learned, right?
Kind of
And
forces you into using the higher mechanics of the game.
yeah, and like that pacing I think is so good, and the games are
Yeah.
so good at it until we get to the forgotten God of War game that no one ever talks
Chain
about.
of Memories?
Chains of Olympus was the PSP one, and it was fine.
Did I just call
Chain of
out Kingdom
Memories is a
Hearts?
Kingdom Hearts game, yeah.
They're the same game to
Uh,
me because it's like a PSP exclusive, and it's like a weird story explaining in between two games. And yeah, you're right. No one ever talks about it.
well, no, I'm not talking about that one though. Chains of Olympus is fine. That game's totally
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Ghost of Sparta also totally
I
fine.
didn't play
There's
either of them.
There's five. If you include the PSP games as being good, there's five God of War games that are great. The one that no one ever talks about is God of War Ascension.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I tried to download this once and then never heard anything about it.
It fucking sucked.
What was it
So
about?
it was a God of War game where you didn't play as Kratos, you just played as some beefcake, right? And that's fine. He's a beefcake. But like the issue I had with it was that all of that like interesting pacing to the fights was gone. It was like it had the God of War combat, but I just felt like you were always fighting just strings and strings of the same enemy over and over again without there being a combo and there like a interesting combination of enemies and there being too many of the same one at the same time. The kind of game where like you're sitting there fighting these dudes and fighting these dudes and you start to think like, am I doing this right? Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? Because it'd be ridiculous if they just wanted me to fight this many of this enemy, right? But then you kill a couple more and you move on and it's like, oh shit, yeah, I guess that's how they designed it. And that happens over and over, right?
Where
So
if you stay in the same place, they'll just keep coming at you.
no. I mean, like it turns out that they actually did want you to just kill 100 of them. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
But you're questioning it though. You're wondering, like, am I supposed to be going somewhere? Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
one of those games, and then also like not being Kratos. I don't think that they did a good enough story. You know, they didn't follow up Kratos well enough, where the story was really boring, and I don't remember a single detail about it. Uh, and then, though, that was the one where they introduced online multiplayer. So there was online multiplayer in God of War Ascension also, which was
That always works out
uh
well.
yeah, I remember it being very okay for like a couple days, and then people figured out how to do like, what do you call it, when like a combo where they're going 100% health to dead in one combo, right? People figured out how to do that, where they can just kill you in one combo, and then shit was, yeah, it was no good.
Let me ask you a question that kind of spins off on that.
hmm
What is a game that comes off the top of your head first when I say, why does it have a multiplayer?
Probably BioShock 2.
And then the multiplayer actually being not too bad, but
Oh,
everyone.
Assassin's Creed.
Okay, all right, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I haven't actually
Yeah.
played that, but I've seen it. Where it's just like people question why the game has a multiplayer, and because of that, nobody plays it. But if you do play it, it's actually not too bad.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood had online multiplayer, and it was pretty cool. What it was there were like four different NPC models, you know, but the town would be full of people, but they would just be like these four specific models that were everywhere, and then you four players were those models,
Mm.
right? So then it would say like, hey, your target is this guy, you know, your target is the guy with this hair and this outfit, and you have to figure out which one of them is that player by kind of studying their actions, like which one of these people isn't acting like an NPC, you know? And
Kind
it
of
was
like a
pretty
weird
cool.
prehistoric Among Us.
Yeah, yeah. But like but you know, you are hunting someone down, trying to figure out which guy is actually
Yeah.
them, but someone's doing it to you too, you know, so you
Mm.
need to do your investigation subtly and that kind of thing.
That sounds actually pretty
Um,
fun.
yeah, it was pretty cool. The matchmaking was horrendous though, where like I remember sitting in the lobby trying to find a match for 30 minutes at a time. For
Oof.
some reason, like you just couldn't find matches sometimes.
That
Even though there were players, there were active players, it would like keep filling up the lobby and then emptying it and then filling up and emptying. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. It seemed
probably just
totally
sorting
broken.
by connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it was no good though.
My pick is Doom 2016.
Oh
Before
yeah.
before that game came out, they gave you a beta. You could play the fucking game before it even came out, but it was multiplayer only. I think Uncharted 3 did this on the PS3 as well.
Uncharted 2 even had online multiplayer.
It might have been Uncharted 2 that I'm thinking of.
Well, they both did.
Did they both? Okay. Well,
hmm
I want to say it was 3 then, because I was already a diehard Uncharted fan by the time I was stoked for 3 to come out. And subsequently kind of let down by that game. But anyway, sideways. Anyway, the combat itself in both games actually, Uncharted and Doom 2016. The combat itself is everything like you would imagine in the actual game itself, except now there's other people doing it. And for a game like Doom 2016, that makes sense because it really kind of just feels like Quake. Feels like Quake, except now there's a power up where one person gets possessed by an RNG demon, and maybe it was there. I think they made it your choice of what demon you want to spawn as when you get to be the demon. But essentially, it's Quake with a demon here or there, and I would say Uncharted 3's multiplayer was exactly like that, except the only other people you're fighting are other people, and it's weird because you're kind of also multi-managing like the climbing aspects, the cover aspects, the weird ducking and covering you got to do to avoid a grenade, trying to figure out whether or not a grenade's too hot and see whether you can pick it up and lob it back at them, that kind of thing. Like, so it was like normal third-person Uncharted, but then there's like 12 more variables you have to account for, and it was challenging when you got a group of people who were actually pretty good at it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Uncharted 2 and 3 having quite decent multiplayer. And then also Naughty Dog, The Last of Us had pretty great multiplayer also.
I did not try that.
Because I think the last I like maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say the Last of Us multiplayer was a little bit more like Counter Strike, where there was no respawning per round, right?
Hmm.
So so like the kind of stealthy trying to get around someone's back and that kind of thing was a lot more
Yeah.
important. Because yeah, it was like 4-on-4 and you know short skirmishes where there's no respawning. Yeah, in the with The Last of Us, you know, controls, just like with Uncharted's controls and stuff, with all the options that you have, it worked pretty well.
I fucking hated The Last of Us.
The regular game, The Last of Us, you didn't like
Yeah,
it?
I hated it so much. I didn't play the second one.
Ooh, let us explore this.
Oh, it's mostly like butthurt hatred because it was a game that was the story was so engaging that it had me attention. My eyes were just glued to it the entire time. Mechanically, I was so bad at like the stealth of the game, and also the stealth in that game is just kind of generally shitty. Things you can get away with things you should never be able to get away with in The Last of Us, and then things that seem trivial, like you know something that shouldn't be a problem at all, you'll attract a mob from across the map. It's really weird and buggy every time I played it. So I made no intent after like the beginning of the game to keep going stealthy because A, it's just too much like adrenaline flow, but B, it's also just like it fucking sucked, man. I failed every time. So I just did the normal thing. I just stayed under cover and firefighting the entire game all the way through, only to be enraged by the ending and going, I'm never playing this shit again.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Man, I loved the ending. So Last of Us, I was at like the height of my PS3 fandom when that game came out. Cuz like I was living with three roommates at the time, right? So like video game debate stuff was happening all the time, right? And that was when you know, with PS3 it was just like I thought I think the PS3 crushed the Xbox 360 so hard as far as like games that are on it for you to play. Um, and with stuff like Demon Souls, right? And Infamous and Uncharted and Heavy Rain
Surprisingly,
and
though, that
God of
was
War
the
3.
generation that Xbox kind of really humbled Sony.
Yeah, right. The 360 sold amazingly well,
Yeah.
and yeah, totally. But like, if you had a PS3, there were so many better exclusives on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Last of Us was like, I felt like that was like the what do you call it? It's like the last one, like the
Triple A,
there's a word for it where it's the last one.
Final Fantasy,
Uh, but anyway, point is, it was like the big finale, right, of PS3 exclusives. It
the denouement.
was The Last of Us, and yeah, so I was so pumped for it. Um, I remember, so I was working at GameStop at the time,
Oh, you worked at
and
GameStop?
yeah,
That's
and
cool.
Sony actually, Sony brought the game in alpha to like a bunch of GameStops and had like a night where the employees could play it.
Cool.
Yeah, this was like months before it came out. They were just like so confident in the game and they wanted it to sell so well that they actually had the Sony reps for each region like schedule an after hours event at each store where they brought an alpha version of the game for people to play. And you know what's funny is a
Did
lot of people after playing Uncharted 1, 2 and 3, a lot of people played that demo and were like, "Oh, I didn't know this was a stealth game." Right? And they were disappointed, but I was like, "This is fucking great." Yeah, and I totally loved the game.
it's not a stealth game. Spoiler alert. I implore you, if you try to go stealth, be prepared.
Yeah, you
Maybe
know,
maybe play what's the series? Maybe play Tenchu Stealth Assassins first, and then that'll prepare you for the stealth of this game.
I had good luck with the stealth, I think. I mean, I certainly got into a lot of fights when I didn't intend to, but I personally didn't ever think that it was the game's fault necessarily.
When they
But
were
yeah,
having you play that game months in advance, did they make you sign like a not a waiver, but a
I don't
non-disclosure
think
agreement or
so.
anything?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, the point was for us to talk about it to get, to
Oh,
get
okay.
people to pre-order it.
Gotcha. Okay. I was gonna say, like, if you, I mean, you could totally just like take a cell phone video and leak some crazy shit.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was a pretty small event, right? Like, it was just the employees of the store, which is like 6 people. She would have known some or noticed someone
True.
taking a cell phone video.
Hey, cut it
Cuz
out.
yeah, I do think that that was not okay, right?
Yeah.
They didn't want us doing that, I'm sure. I didn't even try though. I think back at that time I still had I didn't have a flip phone, but I had a slide phone, you know? It was like a phone
Hmm.
it was like a candy bar phone, but, uh, it slid open to reveal a keyboard, and that was pretty sweet.
I was gonna get one of those, but I religiously started buying Casio phones. Casio's G's One line of like how they have the G Shock watch, like the classic waterproof. You can bang on this watch all you want, and it'll survive.
Uh, I've
Uh,
got a Casio F91W over here.
I don't know if that's their G Shock line, but it usually says G Shock around the actual band. Well, not the band, but like the actual,
Oh,
round part. I'm not a watch person, but they have G's
gotcha.
One. I don't know why they called it G's One, or maybe it was like G Zone or something. But they had their line of mil spec ruggedized phones. So I bought their flip phone and just had that thing for years because it lasted so long. Loved it. They even had like the Up Rock or something like the no, that's Skull Candy. It was just called the Rock or Boulder, and they had like that flip slide phone with the keyboard. But man, when they made their first smartphone, it was such dog shit, and I ate it up. I ate it up. It was like the worst running, like teeny tiny little processor with no RAM. In order to open Facebook as an application on it, it took a good like 10 seconds probably, and it was laggy when you used it. But I was like, everyone around me was like spending $100 a month to fix their iPhone screens, and I never
Oh,
had that
yeah.
problem. I just saved money all throughout. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
work in retail, like, this is, unrelated, to, GameStop in general, but, like, work in retail, right? I was amazed how many people walk around with just a shattered phone screen that
Yeah.
they just deal with, you know?
Yep.
Oh,
Or
man.
more than likely, it could just be the screen protector that's shattered, and they just haven't unstuck it yet. But yeah, no, that was a thing for a long time. I think phone screens are generally more affordable now to replace. That
Maybe,
and
yeah.
and plans are weird now. Like you can just get a whole phone like for free for like spending $25 and then signing something and to have a credit card and then bam, magic. All of a sudden you have a $200,000 device in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows how
I'm
those
still
deals
on
work?
my first smartphone, but
Oh,
that was
really?
definitely yeah.
Sorry, this is off topic, but I'm curious what it is.
I think it is a Samsung Galaxy S5.
Okay, wow, that's pretty good. Because I mean, I have a Galaxy S9, and then I had the S8 Act. I bought the Actives because they were the mil spec ruggedized versions of those phones. But yeah, I've just been upgrading by taking my girlfriend's old phone every time she gets a new one and just saving a buttload
Oh,
of money.
okay. So the S10 is out now?
It's been
I
out. It's like the S20 something now. Like they went from S10 to S20. It was weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Gotcha. Oh yeah, kind of like didn't graphics cards do that? The Nvidia GTX, they had they
man.
did 100, 200, 300, 400, they did all those lines. And then when they got to 1,000, right? There was like the 1080 and all that, and then they went to the 2080 right after that.
Dude, I built my PC that was basically just a hair under top of the line of the market in like 2011. I upgraded its graphics card once in like 2016, 2017, and then like just kept using it. So I haven't been in the GPU for a market for a long time. They've changed the naming conventions on the AMD side, on the Nvidia side. People tell me Like people will tell me now, yeah, man, my computer's kind of old. It's got like a 2060 or whatever, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I don't even know what that means anymore. And it's like,
Right, and it's not GTX anymore either. It's RTX now, I
yeah,
think,
I
or
think
maybe there's both.
maybe RTX is just ray tracing ability on a GTX graphics card. I don't fucking know. All I know
Yeah.
is like it's like they'll be saying like talking some old fucking graphics card, and it's just like 2 years old. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, I'm rocking something from 2013 over here, and it's
Yeah,
serving me actually pretty much just fine for anything I need
totally.
it for.
Depending on the kinds of games you play,
Yeah.
you can last on a regular graphics card or like on the same graphics card for a long, long time.
I feel like that's
Uh,
just been more true now than it ever has. And I'm not even saying that because the cryptocurrency craze it just destroyed the fucking the GPU market. I'm saying it because it's like I feel like no matter what, games are optimized to where they can run on low settings well, where games had to be ran on low settings in order to be able to run on a certain GPU, I feel like games are more optimized now where you can use the medium setting. You know what I mean? I feel like graphics haven't improved so much that like a graphics card from 2013 can't keep up for the most part. It's
yeah.
it. I feel like the difference used to be far more pronounced in graphics card generations.
I hear what you're saying, but dude, ray tracing looks pretty sweet.
So that's what I was going to say. I was going to say ray tracing is just another like ability that a graphics card can turn, like like high dynamic range, so sort of that kind of thing. If your display is compatible with it, you can show it. Of course, that's going to be a huge bog down. But like everything else on the graphics card, I feel like is pretty competent for a good
Yeah.
amount of things.
Totally. Yeah, especially like I'm saying, especially like the kinds of games that you're into. Like when I bought a 980, right? I bought a 980 when they were like the new hotness, and but it was like I got the 980, and then I went home and played another several hundred hours of Binding of Isaac on it.
Yeah, it's like the classic joke of buying. I'm gonna age myself here, but buying a 1080 Ti to play Minesweeper.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
Classic.
Uh, and yeah, I would still have that 980, but I had some issues with it and had to replace it. So I got a 2070 Super, I think. And luckily, I'm like really glad now though that I got that because that was kind of right before now everything is crazy.
Yeah, me too. I got all that out of the way right before it went down the shitter. Well, okay, so not really because the old shitty graphics card that I needed to upgrade, I actually just straight up sold for about 75% of what I paid for it new to then use that money to buy a graphics card also used but like 4 or 5 years newer, and I paid less money for that than I sold my previous graphics card for. That is how crazy the crypto market was. I think I bought that card for 160 and I sold my years older one, years much more used one for like 220, 240. It was
Oh
insane.
yeah. Huh. I wonder how the 980 sells for now because I actually the old one that I was having issues with, it only really gave me issues in my system. I tried like when I was troubleshooting it, and this like maybe someone else can relate to this story because it was the most frustrating computer issue I've ever had, where basically it was when I was playing a game, occasionally the screen just goes black and it never comes back, right? The PC didn't shut down, it didn't restart or anything like that. Screen just goes black, and that's it. And everyone's telling it's a power supply, it's a power supply, but like if it was the power supply, the whole computer would have restarted. So,
Yeah, not
but
necessarily.
well, I did like I analyze I got Corsair Link or whatever because I have that and or used all kinds of monitoring programs to figure everything out that I could and look at event logs and all that and it just the power supply was fine and
It's
then
good.
though in part of my troubleshooting, I swapped graphics cards with my girlfriend's PC. She had like a 480 or something, right? Uh, and um, and yeah, her graphics card worked just fine in my PC. My graphics card worked just fine in hers. So it was like some kind of combination in my PC that was making it not work. I
Dude,
got
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so I got the 2070 to replace it, and on the same power supply, it's working just fine. And then the reason I was saying I wonder what I could have sold it for if I sold it is because I actually I just gave the 980 away to our
Oh,
mutual friend Melon though. So he has
damn
it now.
it! Why didn't you sell it? No, I mean like that's pretty good as long as it goes to someone who it's helping. I see
Yeah.
that. I would say, damn it. Okay, no, I actually was gonna ask something, but now I totally lost that train of thought. I was just gonna say, oh wait, no, I was gonna talk about power supplies because holy fucking shit, power supplies from the day that I started building PCs in like 2006 ish up until like just recently have been you buy it, you put it in, you don't think about it. You plug it in, it's done. The past two computer builds that I have been through myself and another person who I helped build a PC have all had the scariest moment happen of when you finish your PC, you turn it on and nothing happens, it doesn't turn on, or something happens and it doesn't make sense of what's happening and it doesn't work. All of those have been junk power supplies, straight from the factory. Don't know what's going on. Don't know what the pandemic did. I don't know what about chip shortage. I don't know what low-quality capacitors they're throwing in there. Transformers, I don't fucking know, but PSUs have been dog shit lately. It's been
Huh.
awful. Like, dude. Three computers, and like it got to the point where I was questioning my own skills as like a technician again, because I was like, I've been doing this all my life. Why are power supplies like all of it? Like it didn't make sense because like I didn't know it was a power supply. Like, why are all these weird fucking things happening? And that's the thing. Whenever it comes to anything electronics wise, if you're testing something and the results that you get are just really weird and or inconsistent, it's almost always shitty power. Always start at the fucking wall and then work your way back.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I hope you don't pass that on to me because I'm old Knox, where like PSUs, they've always just worked.
Yeah.
Every computer I've built, I put the PSU in, and it's never given me trouble. And the only time that I've dealt with power supply issues, like with friends, it's always been the easiest thing to diagnose. Where it's like, yeah, I'm using my computer, and then it just restarts. And I'm like, yeah, put a different power supply in
Yeah.
it.
Or it's, possibly a hard drive issue. I see that a lot too.
hmm
But
But
how do we get on PC stuff? We're just talking about how games have
okay,
like
back to
graphics.
back to Metroid.
Oh, damn. Sorry.
Because that's what got us into God of War and all that shit. All I was saying was that so that remake of Metroid 2 on 3DS, it kind of did the Metroid Other M thing where it gave it the character a little bit more like cool dude action stuff. You know what I mean? Like where you can melee the enemies and do a parry on them and that kind of stuff. So you're like, yeah. And so Metroid Dread is made by that company. So the developer isn't like in-house Nintendo, it's Mercury Steam. But they're the ones who did Samus Returns. Samus Returns was good. And it looks like Dread is going to be like the same style, but hopefully they take what I'm talking about, where like it did its own little thing where it had some cool actiony stuff. I hope that they take that idea and like the 360 aiming, all that, and do more interesting stuff with it. Because now they can. It's the sequel and it looks real good.
Yeah. You know what? Not really super related, but because you're talking about Metroid, I've been debating whether or not back and forth I should buy this whole Castlevania collection thing. The big compilation that they released to PS4 not too long ago.
Yeah. What all is on it again? Is it like everything like they did with the Metal Gear Legacy
It's
collection or whatever that was called?
it's not everything. Let me actually see. Castlevania collection. That's actually, so I was thinking about getting it because it just increases the accessibility for me to do what I wanted to do, which is beat every Castlevania game.
Mhm.
Um, but there are things about it. Oh no, I just got to collecting games and such, and as I was going through them, I was looking at the list of things here, which is Castlevania 1 through 3, Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania the Adventure, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, those are both Game Boy games.
Yep.
Castlevania Bloodlines, which is the Genesis game, or Mega Drive. And then there's Kid Dracula and History of Castlevania Book of the Crescent Moon. I guess that's like a little booklet that you get with it.
Right, I did see this because this is on Steam also.
Yeah.
Kid Dracula is interesting because there was a Famicom game, Kid Dracula, and there was a Game Boy game, Kid Dracula. And
Yeah.
only the Game Boy game actually got localized, but on that collection is the Famicom game. So that's, I
Yeah.
think, the first time it's been released in English.
But the thing is, Kid Dracula localized on the Game Boy is, according to the creators of that game, it is both a an enhanced remake and a sequel of Kid Dracula on the Famicom. So if
Okay.
you supposedly if you play it on the Game Boy, you're not missing anything, but you are gaining things. Well, you are missing, color and good graphics, but what are you gonna do? It's a Game Boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, same game. Just Game Boy graphics and more content to it. So I was gonna buy Kid Dracula once I ever found a good deal on it. Maybe just buy a repro if it gets too crazy. But with that, what is my incentive to buy the collection? Because I already have everything else and more actually.
Yeah, right. I think that's the thing is that it's not for you and me
That's what I was gonna say.
necessarily
It's not for me at
because
all.
yeah, because we already have them, except for Kid Dracula.
Except for Kid
But
Dracula.
with the Famicom Kid Dracula is like I think I looked it up. It's like 20 $30 or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's not too bad, and you
Um,
can just ROM hack it to be English. There's a translation hack, I'm pretty sure, and
yeah,
even still, most people don't play that game in English because it's one of those games where you just kind of don't need too much of what's going on verbally in the game.
yeah.
And I've played it for a little bit, and I've watched our buddy Quad Laser play it for a little bit, and man, is that brutal. Oh, I'm sorry. That
The
wasn't
game
Quad
is
Laser. That was Thievery. Never mind. But yeah,
the game is super brutal.
the game is very brutal. It's really it's cutesy and adorable looking, but like I think everything kills you,
Okay.
and it kind of does a little bit of what Castlevania the Adventure does, in that it essentially just tells you to go fuck yourself in the level design itself.
Mhm.
Like there was particularly like this big cartoony, it almost looked like a Kirby game if you didn't know what you were looking at. That's how cutesy it is, but like it was a big like cutesy like airlift elevator to the clouds and the skies. You were going up to the heavens for something, and I think along the way there are enemies that you have to dodge, and it's one of those like transition scenes where it's just like, whoa, watch out, don't get hurt. I think everything kills you in that, and he spent like 30 minutes just going up that sky elevator or
Oh
something.
yeah, you're talking one hit kills.
I don't know about one
So it's
hit
like,
kills, but he
oh, okay.
like basically 2 hit kills at least, I think.
Okay. I don't
Classic
know.
classic
It
Mario.
sounds pretty sweet.
I mean,
What you're describing.
it sounds like it's a challenge, but I mean, I'm way more into the idea of playing that than playing more Castlevania the Adventure. God, fuck that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably check out Kid Dracula at some point. But that you're right. That's the one thing on there that I don't have yet. I guess even for us though, like the collection might be for someone if they don't necessarily are super attached to playing on real hardware and they're not big babies about input lag and that kind of stuff,
We could also
then
talk about the elephant in the room too, of like the reason I'm actually trying to like mull it over in my head to buy it. is, I mean, the game has been out for a while. It's been out for over a year, but it's because Limited Run Games now finally has the rights from Konami to make a physical version, and that's what I told myself I was going to wait for. But here I am now as it comes out, and I go, oh, me as a physical game collector, do I need this
Right.
physical collection of games I own physically?
Yeah, I was gonna say it might just be
That's
like
like meta pollution.
convenient. It might just be convenient to have them all in one place,
Yeah, well, I
also.
mean, like not the not so much the whole point of the collection is, yeah, because I mean, who the fuck, how many people out there have the hardware to play all the games in this collection? Everyone wants it for one system, and that's perfectly fine and awesome.
Yeah.
But like the fact that Limited Run was making it was not bad, but like it makes me go, why, if I already physically collected these games before, why would I want to buy this specifically? And I wouldn't have such a bone to pick with it if the stuff that interested me about it didn't come in a collection that's $175.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and that I mean, what else is in it besides the game? Because
Dude,
it's a physical game, right? Because I'm looking at the Switch version, right?
yeah.
And so does that mean that it's on a Switch card?
Yeah, has
The
to.
fact that Limited Run makes it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
So that's
Limited Run is going to
cool.
ever give you just a download code.
Right. Okay. Just making sure. So
Oh god, I
so
hope
that's
not.
cool, but what yeah, well, I mean,
So it comes with
what
this
else could it
really
come with?
cool fucking shadow box, right? It's a lit up, like maybe battery powered, maybe plug in, I don't know. Probably lit up battery powered shadow box of the art of Dracula, like the classic like uh Belmont, looking up at Dracula, the painting. And it's got like his head enlarged in it, and like it just has like a cool like effect to it. You'd have to see it to really understand what I'm talking about. But like that, an art book, and I'd have to pull it up here to know what everything is in it. But like
What
all
the
of
hell
that.
is a shadow box?
Oh, a shadow box. Okay, so you know how like you can have a picture frame, and it's like a 2D framed picture. A shadow
Uh-huh.
box will be like a 3D framed picture where it has depth to it. So like you can have a picture in the back and put put it up on a wall somewhere, and the room lighting will have it cast a shadow inside itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, so $175 for, let's see, that shadow box with like the lighting effect, and there's a reversible poster. Kind of wish it just had both posters because both paintings are
Totally,
amazing.
yeah.
Kind of pissed about that. They have retro box art prints, which is, I guess, just tiny little not posters of the original game art. A steel book, and it has, this is something I don't understand, miniature replica box collection. So it has mini little paper foldable boxes, or folded boxes, like to be replicas of the game cases that they came in originally.
Hmm. I guess if you like knickknacks on your shelf,
Yeah.
that might be kind of cool.
And for something like this, I was actually still like, I'm kind of interested in it because it's Castlevania. It's such a big thing, and it's
Mhm.
such a release. Like, I don't think Konami's going to do stuff like this again. This is like a one-off thing, and then it's like a special thing for the fans. And I happen to be one of those fans. And I'm just sitting here looking at the stuff that all it comes with, and I'm just like, it's just not adding up to 175. Just so
Yeah.
much. Like there's an art book too, or the history of Castlevania, which I'm sure has some good illustration in it too. But
Yeah,
like
it's quite a bit.
it's
If you yeah, yeah.
it's like $100 more than their typical collection that looks like this.
Right, because I was gonna say, well, if you don't have any of the games, the games are more than that, right? Like I paid more than that for Bloodlines,
Yes.
but
Wait, you
but
did?
I think so.
Dude.
I want to. Well, I got it complete in box and all that.
Yeah, me too.
And I think it was like 180.
I cheated though. What I did, I'm gonna shout out a buddy on Twitter here, Retro Repair Corner. No, Cliff's Repair Corner. He has 3 different business names, but Retro Repair Corner, he makes really good high quality reproduction clamshell boxes and for game cases in general, and high quality art, inserts, prints, and everything, and does full colorized manuals for Genesis games, which if you know about Genesis games, their manuals were in black and white. It was a cost-saving thing. I think there were some that were in color, but the majority weren't. These are fully colorized, actual, like, not cardstock, but, like, you know, nice quality, not printer paper manuals. It looks like it's better than from the factory, if I could put it that way. I think $10 I spent on the case, manual, everything, the works, for my cart-only copy of Bloodlines. So, like, $10 on top of the deal that I fucking got, which was like $40 for that cartridge. $40 for Bloodlines.
That's a good deal on the cartridge for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to the store owner for a while, and he was like, "Yeah, I've seen you in here before. You seem really nice. I'll take $20 off of here," because I think I had to wait like 10 minutes to talk to the guy. He was really cool, super cool about it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I got that for $40. Cool. I was fuck yeah. But yeah, that's
and if it's good quality and stuff, that's nice. But it's a repro.
It's a repro
for the case, yeah. So, but anyway, so what my point is though is that it's like, yeah, you know, I paid, you know, I paid the cost of that collection for Bloodlines, and it comes with a bunch more stuff than that. So that's cool. But if that is what you're going for, if you're like, yeah, I just want to play these games in a more affordable way than buying the physical games, well, that doesn't mean you got to get the limited run, you know.
Oh, absolutely not. You can just buy the straight up game.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the digital game I think is pretty cheap, isn't it?
Oh, I meant even if you want to get it from limited run, it's not. They're not just selling the collector's edition like that. They have like a limited edition which has just the art with it or something, maybe a steelbook. And then the base game, and then the base game itself you can buy physically from them too. And I think that's just like their normal 30, which is what I was gonna buy actually.
Yeah, there you go.
But I was like, I got no reason to buy it now. But you're absolutely right. No, if you were to lay out the price of all of those games individually, fucking buy this, man. Save yourself hundreds of dollars if you're okay with collections.
Right. If you're not me, I would say, you know, I'd recommend that. But
one of the things that first made me stay away from it altogether was that I heard that Symphony of the Night had a couple things changed in it, and the cutscenes were gone.
Oh,
or there was a cutscene. No, you know what it was? My friend was like, the whole "what is a man" scene. You know, miserable little pile of secrets. Apparently, there was something different about that in the collection version. Like, I think he just didn't say something. I don't know. And I was like, well, damn it, I want the absolute original experience. But mind you, I talked to people about this like a little bit after that came out, and nobody seemed to know what I was talking about. And I think a few people said it was basically the same game.
I was going to say, like, not to discredit your friend, right? There might be something different, but it could be it could be a case of man, what is the phenomenon called?
I was trying to remember this name earlier today, and I couldn't remember it. God damn it.
Yeah. But just where like you just remember things a little bit differently than they are. Because I'm not really talking about the Mandela effect, because that's a similar thing.
That's what I was thinking about, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But right, like a lot of the time, you know, sometimes, you know, you watch an old episode of Futurama or something, and you could swear that like this is the line, but then it's different, you know.
Yeah.
It could be just a case of something like that.
Could be. I wouldn't discredit, and I still encourage people to buy it just because play Castlevania.
Yeah. So you've been thinking about getting that. Have you been playing anything?
Yeah. That's the thing. I didn't have E3 to bring to the table, but I did do my first like legit on schedule stream for the first time in like a month and a half, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I said fuck it, I'm just gonna, like, right now at this point I was just like, man, I think I should just stream anything at this point, because that'll make Twitch not think I'm dead, and then I'll still keep my, you know, ability to monetize advertising and shit. But I got the inkling that I really wanted a fishing rod controller.
Oh, I think I saw a picture of this.
Yeah, and so I bought my fishing rod controller. This is the AgeTech PS1 Silver rod controller, and this was made for a game called Bass Landing. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. I got that in the mail with Bass Landing for like $30, and I was like, dude, fishing games are like a cheap way to have weird fun, in my opinion. Um, for
Yeah, you've
for cheap.
been talking about fishing games
Yeah.
as long as we've been talking. So here we go. You got your controller.
But the emphasis was this week specifically because I just have been stoked for getting it. But so all right, so I just go, I'm gonna get all the fucking PS1 fishing games I have together in one fucking place and just play them all on the fishing rod controller. And it was actually pretty interesting, and seeing how the different games reacted. It was a little disappointing in terms of the games that I wanted them to work in. It didn't quite work well in at all, or it just didn't get recognized. But the games that they did work in made it like even that much more fun. I don't know. Should I talk about the fishing rod controller or the games?
Well, let's hear about the controller first.
All right. Well, so the controller is this cool like, all right. It looks like it's not attached to anything, but you absolutely can reel in a line for anyone who's actually playing a game. In some games, you just have to tap circle in order to reel in. It's weird, but not on this controller. This actually, anything that you would reel in, it works reeling in with this controller, so it works. But the face buttons are like down and to the left of the only analog stick, which is central, and it clicks in like an R3 or L3. And
Yeah.
that is used in a way I didn't expect at all because I didn't think it clicked in. You click it in when if anyone here fishes and knows what like a bait casting reel is, it's the one where once your lure hits the top of the water, you need to put your thumb down on the actual line to stop it from moving and causing a big mess in your reel. You actually do that with a few of the games. You actually with Bass Landing specifically because that is like a simulation fishing game. I was impressed. You actually have to click it in the second it hits the water. After you cast it, it has like a little very like prehistoric motion sensor thing going on here. I think this thing works off of a pedometer. I honestly do. I'm excited to take it apart and clean it, but mostly see that it's probably just straight up using a pedometer to know whether or not you just casted something. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, it does actually have a little bit of like an analog meter to it where it can kind of tell how hard you cast, because in some games that have a power meter, it doesn't like let you have like the whoop whoop and then you just push the button like an arcade game. It's actually straight up going with that pressure. But it's got quite a dead zone to it. It's either like you're only casting a little bit or you're only casting full force.
Oh,
So yeah, it's weird. And I need to take it apart because it's all squeaky. Can't really hear it from here, but it's all squeaky and very
I'm
annoying.
hearing it.
Oh, you've been hearing it? Nice. Okay, yeah, it's fucking annoying. So I'm gonna like get some WD-40 in there or some shit after I clean it. But man, whole day of fishing games was not something I'd expect. So I know everyone is on the edge of their seats to hear what the best and the worst fishing games are. Are you ready?
Yeah, let me hear which one worked the best with the controller.
Which one worked the best with the controller? Obviously, I'm going to say Bass Landing because that game is made by AgeTech. This controller is made by AgeTech. Everything about
AgeTech.
Yeah, everything about this controller has a purpose in that game. And it's even down to choosing the kind of casts that you use. Like, it shows you there's an overhead cast, there's the sideways cast, there's like a direct down cast, and like there's like a skip. Like, you can actually skip your lure across the top of the water.
Can I tell you a story?
Sure.
It's gonna derail you for a minute, but it's a fishing story. It's like the only time I've been fishing.
Nice.
I'm not a fisher really, but one
Neither.
time
I'm not either.
I was out with my family on a boat doing the fishing thing, and my dad, we were fishing for a while, and my dad did a over the shoulder, overhand cast, and his hook came right up and caught me in the temple
Jesus, that's
as
the
he
worst fear.
as he was casting. Yeah, it got me right, and it was one of those like tri hooks, and two of them got in me.
Oh,
So then, as like this little kid, I got this hook in my
fuck.
head. Oh no! And they rushed us back to shore and took me to some shack. There was some dude that was like, "Oh, yeah, I know what to do." And
Dude.
I don't know what he did. He had like he had like a rubber band, but it was cloth, like it was like a stretchy cloth kind of thing,
Yeah.
just like a little ring.
Like
And I
gauze.
can't see it because it's on my temple. But whatever the hell he was doing with it, he used that to like get get out the hook. And I remember, I had this hook in my head for a while, and they had to
Jesus.
like cut it while it was in my head, so that they could
Oh.
get just the hooks out because they couldn't get the whole thing out. So they had to like cut the ends off and stuff. And then I just remember when they actually got the hooks out, it was like the most relieving feeling in my entire life. Just like, oh man, the moment those things were out of my head, I was just like, all right, everything's fine now.
So Dash never
That's
went
it.
fishing ever again.
Yeah, ever since then, I've been very wary about fishing poles being around me. I don't like them hooks swinging around.
Trust me, I every time, and I mean, you hear lures like sound like they're breaking the sound barrier or some shit, because you can hear those tiny little things that you think are bugs next to your head for a second, and then you realize it's actually just a piece of plastic and 3 hooks going whoosh, right next to your head the entire time. I'm just like, yeah, this is fine, nothing wrong here.
So anyway, back to real bass landing.
Sega real bass landing. Yeah. So Age Tech, I don't know. Age Tech are they a publisher or are they a developer? Because I've heard
I
they've
think
developed a lot of games.
have they are a publisher. I
Or
know they have published some of the rarest PS2 games. Like Kuon is a
oh,
From
okay.
Software game for PS2 that Age Tech published.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, so Age Tech is just one of those companies, kind of like Working Designs, I guess, where they just localize some low print things, I guess, that deserve reprint. Yeah, I've heard good things about Age Tech every time that I've seen their logo, which explains things because I think they're the first time I played Armored Core was an Age Tech game, which is from Soft for that game.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, they're good dudes. Anyway, Bass Landing, it was so realistic, such a realistic fishing simulator that I didn't even get a fucking bite the entire time I played it. So I moved around in my boat. That was a cool thing. This is the only fishing game where you have control of your own that I've played on PS1. Only one where you have control of your boat. Like you have straight up the ability to drive your boat somewhere or use the trolling motor up front. And it's funny because the trolling motor just sounds like a sine wave signal generator. It's just like, it's the most annoying fucking thing. But it's like it's not bad. The environments don't look bad. Like the environments are impressive. It's 3D kind of area from what I remember. Yeah, because there's a bunch of them that are just like FMV or just like a static image. But I'll get to that. I'm pretty much done talking about Bass Landing at this point because I was impressed with the mechanics and never caught a single fish and then put it down.
Yeah. So that one was the best one with the controller.
The one that works with the controller, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying the best with a big old asterisk because that was the best that works with the controller, but the best fishing game with the controller, and honestly probably the best fishing game all night, either 1 or 2, Fisherman's Bait. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to you that if I'm informing you now, this is a Konami game. And the music is so fucking good and hype. It's this weird 90s Japanese techno kind of sounding like heavy metal guitar, but is clearly like MIDI. And it's just like the like imagine like the Final Fantasy VII motorcycle chase scene, but in the original game. Imagine that music, except you're an excited redneck with a mustache in a boat, and that's
Oh
what you're
yeah, yeah.
getting when you have a fish on your line. Yeah. But it's weird how, and this is why I like retro games so much in general. I love the limitations put on game developers in order to make a game fun. Because if you look at reel fishing, I'm talking about reel fishing and Fisherman's Bait here, they both use a 2D static image as the environment that you're fishing in. It's like reel fishing.
Pre-rendered?
Yeah, so reel fishing does it way better. And it's a much more relaxing experience. There's like a nice little acoustic guitar going on in the background. And it looks like you're playing a fishing game inside of... Have you ever been to the mall as a kid and like gone to one of those kiosks where they sell... For some reason, all they sell are these like backlit photographs of like a brook, a river stream, and then there's like a light show that goes on behind it, and you can kind of see the really shitty not illusion of motion in the water.
Yeah,
and they play
I don't
noise.
even know if I saw those at malls, but I feel like I've seen them at restaurants as like a mood
as
setting
decor,
thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, they got them from the mall.
Okay.
So imagine playing a fishing game inside one of those. It has the shitty crappy little speaker playing the nature sound effects track on loop, and you can hear the hard click as soon as the track loops every time. Imagine you're
as it rewinds.
and imagine there's some dickhead behind you with an acoustic guitar just sitting down, just like slowly, quietly strumming away, and you're like, God damn it, this is actually relaxing. What the fuck? I'm just in a mall with a fishing rod and someone's sitting behind me with a guitar. That is the experience of reel fishing. Reel fishing, R-E-E-L, so not R-E-A-L to imply that it's a simulator.
Not to be confused with the experience of real fishing.
Really fishing.
More like the experience of playing Bass Landing.
Correct. Yeah. Sort of. If you play it, you might not be that close, but yeah, the closest. But reel fishing takes that little 2D thing you're looking at, and it makes a real pretty image. Fisherman's Bait and Fisherman's Bait 2 just give you that straight up like picture of water beneath a bridge, like just an actual photograph. And then it takes, I don't know the technical terms of how the game is doing this, but it takes like these magnifying line layers and scrolls and makes them scroll downward to give you the simulation that the picture you're looking at has real moving waves of water in it. It's really weird. It doesn't look impressive at all, but the game still manages to be really fucking hype and fun as hell, because once you get a bite in that little environment that you're fishing in, real fishing falls flat of what Fisherman's Bait does, which is Fisherman's Bait gives you an actual underwater rendering of the fish going up to your bait and snagging it, and you can see yourself set the hook in the fish's mouth, which is you pulling back on the rod. You get that, and then you get you get this weird low-paid English voice acting put through a 28 kilohertz compression filter to fit on the PS1 disc. Fish. And then like it's this super hype, exciting, like and like with the shitty MIDI piano like just going nuts in the background while you get yourself choosing the direction in which you're going to pull above water, and then it just goes like showing underneath water with like the fish like just like panicking and freaking out, and then maybe you'll see the fish like crest above the wave or something and splash out for a second. You're just like, oh fuck, and you can see it actually shows you what fish you're gonna get. It's not like some generic same like sprite for a fish. Well, in this game would be 3D model of a fish. You actually see the real fish you're going to pull in when you get it to the boat. So if it's something you don't want, what you can do is you can go, fuck it, this isn't a game fish, I'm not after this, it's not a big enough fish, whatever. You can just cut the fucking line. And the reason I bring that up is because it's actually relevant. I found this out so many years after literally getting into reel fishing and playing the demo for Fisherman's Bait. That's how I played Fisherman's Bait as a kid. Demo disc everywhere. I got into it and then realized, holy shit, why does this have a timer in it? I've always known there's a timer in Fisherman's Bait. It counts down from like 116 seconds, I think. And as soon as it's done, you're done. And if you don't have the amount of like raw fish in your live well, or you don't have the right game fish you were going after, aka a bass, you don't get points for that. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is weird. This is like an arcade game because you have continues when you run out of time.
Oh, okay, yep.
And it turns out, sure enough, there's straight up a Konami dedicated arcade cabinet for Fisherman's Bait. And this is the PS1 is an arcade port.
All right. So now, if we're talking about an arcade port and you've got a Fisherman controller, what were the controls like on the arcade machine?
So I don't know because I didn't know the arcade machine even existed. I looked it up though, and it straight up has a reel control, like a fishing reel controller for that game. And I'm sitting here thinking, unless this is just really hard to find, like it's rare, because how many people bought a fishing game for their arcade? How expensive could that arcade machine be? Like, if that's like the number one. Like, I want a Neo Geo so bad. That's my goal. But if I find like one of those for like $400 or something, it just needs cleaning, dude, I'm all over it. But in terms of the fishing rod controller, it's nowhere near as in depth as the controls you get on Bass Landing, but everything works. It just doesn't serve as much of a purpose, and it doesn't matter because it's so fun. When you cast like this, it detects that you cast, so obviously it's not like it doesn't have motion controls like the Wii does, where the second you cast, it's going to cast with you. No, it just gets that, and then your character goes, oh, okay, it's time to cast, and then you get the little meter and all that. But you reel it in, it works. You hit circle to like give them some line. It works to release tension, you know what I mean, from your line. You don't want to break the line. Everything else, menu selection, it all works. So there you go. If you want a good PS1 fishing game, highly recommend Fisherman's Bait, any of them. So the first one, remember that voice I just told you about? That weird voice that tells you essentially what's going on? Yeah. Imagine that is also the narrator for the first game too. So when the game starts up, you get this cool, like, weird saxophone on the MIDI thing going on, and then you get Fisherman's Bait, a bass challenge. and that's what you get, and I guess that's what's supposed to attract people to the arcade machine, but I never understood it as a kid. I was like, this is weird. I love this.
Right.
And then, it was fucking hype. The second game is called... it's weird how they titled it, because it seemed like they were actually trying to brand it with something. They called it Big Ol' Bass. Fisherman's Bait 2. Or it's just Fisherman's Bait 2 Big Ol' Bass. Like, the graphic design of it has, like, Big Ol' Bass up at the top. So... A lot of people might have missed out and might have not known it was even
now,
a thing.
Is this the worst of them now?
No,
that we're talking about.
This one is on par, equal, or maybe even if not better than Fisherman's Bait.
Okay.
Because it's the sequel, and it honestly felt like the same exact game. The graphics were basically unchanged. One of the biggest differences that I did notice is that when you're reeling in your camera view above water, where your dude's in the boat just reeling it in, you do get a picture-in-picture of the fish underwater too. So you can see him coming in faster or fighting, and it still does the cool camera changes of full screen fish struggling underwater, maybe splashing, all that stuff. It's all really basic shit I'm talking about, but it adds so much to what would be an otherwise pretty boring experience, because it's fishing, you know. If you can make fishing hype, that's what it's all about. And man,
So Big Ol' Bass, it's as good, maybe a little better.
Yeah. So those are the best of the night, I would say. And I'm going to go back to Reel Fishing now, because Reel Fishing, the first game, I believe was an early PS1 game. So you get that weird 2D environment like I was talking about, but when you go underwater, it's still just 2D, and the fish you see are just shitty little sprites, and they don't even have very many animation frames. There's like two or three tail movements, and then they come up to your bait, and then there's the seemingly one you're only ever gonna get, which is the whoosh, and then they just don't get on the line, and then they go fuck off. Fisherman's Bait might have maybe made Natsume go, and by the way, it's a Natsume game. Harvest Moon, if you're a fan, you probably heard of it. They made that. So Fisherman's Bait might have just like made them jog their shit a little bit, because in the second real fishing game, which I picked up, but I've never seen it before. I was so happy to find it in secondhand, Charles. They actually added the whole 3D underwater scene, and they did away with the 2D sprites. So they did improve that. But the fishing itself in that, like in the environment, is still that really charming but shitty FMV picture that you're looking at. And the game just makes it nowhere near as exciting to catch a fish as the arcadey Konami game. So, I liked it. It worked kinda with the fishing rod controller. It didn't work as good as the Konami games, and definitely not as Bass Landing. But here's it was doable. I played the game with it. I caught a fish with it. It worked. I was satisfied. Here's the weird fucking thing, though. I played Real Fishing 3 for the first time ever on PS2. First PS2 fishing game I ever played. Game actually looks really good, and I'll have a quick note on that in a second. But the whole controller just doesn't work with the game at all. Like,
so that's a PS1 controller.
It's a PS1
though, right?
controller.
Now you're talking about playing a PS2 game.
But you can use PS1 controller, like DualShock 1s and a PS2.
You can if you're playing a PS1 game, but DualShock 1s aren't pressure sensitive, so I wonder. I'm actually not sure.
They aren't
what
pressure
the
sensitive, you're right.
compatibility is like.
But like on like the DualShock controller, I don't think there are any controls that would use that pressure sensitivity, but that's kind of besides the point. I'm
not sure.
I don't think there are any PS2 fishing rod controllers, and I've heard everyone say you can just use the PS1 one.
Oh, okay.
That's what the internet has told me from what I've uncovered so far. So I assumed it would work because of the DualShock logic. If that's wrong, then I'm happy to be proved wrong, and maybe there's a controller that will work. I don't know, but this didn't work at all. The only buttons that worked in Real Fishing 3 were the face buttons X and circle. Like square and triangle didn't even do anything. It was weird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I could like say yes or no, and that was it. And honestly, at that point, I was kind of want to say no.
You just use a controller at that point if you're gonna play the game.
Like I would just have to use a controller, but the whole night was me celebrating using this, and I was like,
yeah,
fuck this then. So unfair shitting on of that game. I'll have to come back to that, but that gets me to the last game, which is, God, it was, man, I don't even remember what it's fully called. It's a marine fishing game by Take-Two Interactive. And I don't know. Okay, so I know Take-Two Interactive as a name nowadays. In fact, when I was looking up earlier on in the podcast what all companies do their own kind of show as opposed to doing an E3 thing now, apparently Take-Two Interactive has their own thing, like their own presentation.
That's not surprising. They're pretty big. Doesn't Take-Two own Rockstar?
I don't think so, but man, their logos look similar, actually. Like not too similar, but like the line work of them, it does.
I just looked up Take-Two on Wikipedia, and it does say one of their products is the Grand Theft Auto series.
Okay, so they're huge. In the PS1 area, every Take-Two labeled title I've played has been utter shit. Like the worst. I'm not even going to spend too much time talking about this. The fishing rod controller works in the game for casting, and I can't honestly remember if it worked for reeling it in. I think it did work reeling it in. Yeah, so it did work reeling it in. But my problem with reeling it in was the sound of the game. First of all, you're on the ocean, right? You're deep sea fishing. And there is no water noise whatsoever. No noise at all to imply that you're in an ocean, except maybe you'll hear some birds every here and there. and the bird noise is like a seagull chirp, and it's super loud and super jarring. It's awful. So you hear that, and you see this big PS1 field of blue jello just rising up and down, like making no sound whatsoever. It's surreal. And then like just screeching out of nowhere for like every other, like, I think I counted, it was like something crazy. It was like 12 seconds. Every 12 seconds you heard this fucking bird. And when you cast, you, depending on the lure you're using, like if you're using a spinnerbait, you're going to want to reel in, because that gets the spinner moving, makes it look attractive to a fish. Looks like something that it wants to chase. So so you reel it in, and then you're greeted with the chorus of a surprisingly realistic, although how hard is it to make a realistic, click noise of your reel reeling in, like an actual big deep sea saltwater kind of rig you got going. It's actually going to click a whole bunch while you're reeling in. It's a pretty satisfying noise, actually. But that's the only thing you hear. That's all you hear in this weird silent field of blue jello and a screeching dinosaur up above. And once you actually maybe get a bite, you get this weird. Okay. I don't want to go too much into my deepest fears because my enemies could be listening, but I don't want to ever be in the open water ever in the ocean and look down and not be able to see the floor and know that I'm in incredibly deep water. You just see deep blue and then nothing. I don't want to be in that situation. This game takes the camera and puts me right in that fucking situation. For some reason, this game doesn't give you like an underwater, hey, we're in with the fishes, we can look around and look at the fish. We don't get that view. We get straight the fuck down. I just rode a little boat over here with my waterproof lens and looked into the water. And what do I see? In the screaming abyss. I see 5, like, a sailfish over here, a swordfish over here, just like silently, like it's like I'm looking in like a cooler, and these fish are like the size of coins, and they're just looking up at me like, what is happening? It's this like, it's like you get invited to this weird like fucking Chuck E. Cheese show, except they're all fish and it's looking from top down. It's like they're.
But hang on, I'm gonna explore this abyss thing. So you don't want to be looking down into the water and see that it's a million feet deep.
I don't want to be in water at all if it's a million feet deep.
Because you were saying that like the other games gave you like an underwater camera on the fish.
Yeah, but
and that would have been okay.
Yeah, but they're all lake and river fishing. This is saltwater deep sea fishing.
So even so if it's in the abyss, right, and you just see this one fish, that's also unsettling.
Unsettling. But it was just weird how many you see, and they're all just looking up at you. It's so weird. Or maybe I had the perspective wrong, and maybe it was like the weird ass end view camera of the bait or something. I don't know. It was just
I just think
strange.
it's interesting because the abyss thing is just a generally interesting fear. Like,
it's my biggest.
I've never thought of myself as being particularly worried about it, you know. But when I played Outer Wilds, and sometimes in that game you do something to just like all of a sudden you're just in space. It was very, very unsettling to me to like
oh my God,
suddenly be in the middle of space.
Spacewalks, like, dude. The idea that you're moving at, what is it? You have to be moving at like 800 miles an hour in the Earth's like upper atmosphere to be in orbit or something. I know you need to be moving 8 miles a second in order to be in orbit, and 11 miles a second to leave orbit.
Jeez.
You're going way too fucking fast, and you're above the Earth, and you're not in any kind of distance where having a parachute's going to make you feel a little bit better. You're up there, and you look up and you just see pitch black because the brightness of Earth drowns out the stars. So all you see is black, and the one thing that you're hopefully tethered to for dear life. And you're in a suit that is scientifically proven to have microscopic rips and tears in it from literal radiation and at tiny meteors, like microscopic meteorite particles going at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And you're
Mm-hmm.
worried about like your the pressure in your suit. Just there's so many things that could go wrong in space, but the biggest fear is not being able, like, just you ever seen how astronauts work on things? They put their hammer up here and they leave it there, and they work over here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Imagine being the hammer that's left there, except now you're
Right.
like 1 millimeter outside of that astronaut's reach. You're that
Mm-hmm.
hammer forever now.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, I don't know what's more terrifying, drowning or just slowly waiting to suffocate on my own carbon dioxide, or maybe something happens in my suit and all my blood bursts out of my body from rapid decompressurization.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
space
a
is
word.
terrifying. Now, so I mentioned Outer Wilds a second ago. That game isn't quite so visceral as far as some of that space stuff goes,
Mhm.
but it's in there, and I would very, very much recommend that you play Outer Wilds.
I'm
It's
actually,
it.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's one of those games where the less you know about it, the better, right? Like
Yeah.
you need to go into it 100% blind. Less you know, the better. But fucking trust me, you have to play it. And
Uh,
there you go. That's my recommendation.
Outer Wilds being this open world space thing, right?
It is a space exploration game. Not to be confused with The Outer
Yeah,
Worlds,
yeah. I confuse
which
it all the time.
is yeah, yeah, yeah. So nah, I'm talking about Outer Wilds. It's like an indie game.
Yeah, the I'm kind of glad you brought up my worst fear, because it kind of coincides with another game I've been playing, that's also related to fishing. I just got in to Sea of Thieves. Have you ever played
Oh,
that?
no, but I've seen a decent amount of it streamed.
I didn't watch any much of it streamed because I heard it was kind of lacking in content, and I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
spoil myself for anything that is there. But Sea of Thieves, I learned as I started the game up that it was a Rare game. I didn't know it was made by Rare.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool enough, but I got into the idea after seeing and remembering footage of just how insanely good and realistic the waters look in that game. Like,
Yeah.
the ocean is fucking phenomenal in that game. And I was like, you know what I miss the most? I miss Valheim. I don't play Valheim enough, but what did I love doing in Valheim the most? I loved building a boat and then sailing places because it was risky. And like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, that's all Sea of Thieves is. So I picked it up, and sure enough, dude, there's like, you know how in Valheim when you're sailing, you just pick a direction, hopefully it's in the wind, and you go W or D to increase your sail or to have more throttle and such.
Yeah.
There's more intricateness to that in Sea of Thieves, which I love. So it's, instead of that whole component is broken into three different tasks. You have the person steering, you have the person who can, well, this is not three people, but it's three jobs. One person can manage it all pretty easily if they're good at the game. But you have the person who's steering, you have the person who can control the amount of sail you have set down. It can be
Yep.
full sail. You can trim it up, and it's like, it's not on or off. It's the whole spectrum of getting wind. And then you have the other control, which I don't really know what it's called, but it takes those sails and turns them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to go a certain direction, can't really counter sail against the wind or whatever, you can actually turn the sails with the direction of the wind and go faster than if you were just to be going against the wind the whole time and then trying to put your sails up because you don't want the wind resistance and that stuff. Oh, and there's anchors on all three ships in the game. So in
Mm-hmm.
order to stop and not be adrift at sea, you have to lower your anchor. And the bigger the boat, the heavier the anchor is, and the more people need to be on it for you to be able to raise it. Like, it's one of those things where you stand and push in a circle, and there's like other people on the other end. If they push, it doubles the time you can spin it and get around and actually get out into the water again. Or not be defenseless from other people trying to blow up your shit. Has cannons, has harpoons. It's insane. lot of intricacy in sailing as far as a video game goes, more so than I've ever played. Mind you, I haven't played like I assume there's like a sailboat simulator game out there. I don't know. But it has all that going for it, and you explore a whole open world sea kind of thing, and you find treasure on islands and you find treasure maps. You attack other pirates. There are other people in your server that'll probably try to attack you and steal your shit. It's a lot of fun actually. It's a lot of risky setup business with really good graphics. And the reason I brought it up was because the sea in it. I was talking about how good the ocean is. It is just as equally realistic looking and terrifying below the water too. So my biggest fear is not just being out adrift in the ocean like that. My biggest fear is being adrift in the ocean like that while being next to anything that just happens to be size-wise immense. Like that can be my only lifeline, aka a ship, and I'll be terrified because I know what happens next to the stern of a boat, all the way down by the water line and below. There's propellers down there, so I'm immediately terrified of being chopped up or something like that, or sucked into it or something. I don't know, but like anything big, submarines are terrifying to me.
This is really stupid, but like when you lose your remote and you're trying to look in your cushions for it, if you have like a recliner chair, I'm always or like a rocking recliner chair, I've always been afraid to stick my hand in them to try to find the remote.
Me too.
Because I'm like, I don't know, they got like gears moving around and shit. I'm gonna lose a hand if I put it in there.
There's like springs in there, and honestly, as a kid, I actually got a rusty, like long, tight coil spring stuck in like the webbing of my thumb between my my hand right there. It was just like a fish hook. It hooked me just like a fucking fish hook at the end, and I'm sitting there with this thing like because it's a spring, it has tension, it bounces, but like you have to break it to bounce it because it's so tight. And I've got this thing, I'm like freaking out, and it's like bounce reacting in my hand, and like freaking out, like oh no.
Oh man, see, I was bringing it up as like a silly irrational fear.
No, it's rational. Okay, well, let me explain this. I didn't find that spring in a recliner. I just picked up a spring because I'm a kid, and I go, hey, look at that really cool stick.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It might have been like a trampoline spring then, even.
Yeah, but in Sea of Thieves, underneath that water is the hull of your ship, and I am terrified of just looking at the hull of my ship under the water. Because it's like you look down, you go, oh my god, this is what I'm just like floating on top of in this thing that looks like it could break at any moment. And of course, when you find the other big things in the water that aren't you or other players, you realize how fragile your ship actually is, and then you're just like, oh no. It's an all-around terrifying experience, while also sometimes being gorgeous because it's like tropical weather in the sunlight and all that, and it's pretty. And as soon as like you get a cloud in the sky, the waves turn dark, and it's just terrifying all around. Ugh.
Yeah.
That game's great though.
I from what I've seen of it, I love the visual style of it, particularly the water, like you're saying. And yeah, what I've heard about it is that especially if you're playing it co-op, just the act of like sailing is way more fun than any
So
other game
relaxing
that's done
too,
it.
yeah.
But I have heard that like once you're over that initial fun of like just crewing up your ship and doing like it is that you play the game, that it does run out of things to do very quickly.
Yeah.
That aren't just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's I think why they've been putting, and I assume they've been putting a fuck ton of money into buying up property rights and shit or something. I don't know, but they have a DLC out now, and it literally just came out, and I think it's called A Pirate's Life, and it's actually the cast in like weird 3D graphics of the game of Pirates of the Caribbean. Like it has Captain Jack Sparrow, It has all the other characters from Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean. Um,
Davy Jones, I think, was one guy.
was Davy Jones like the first movie original ship captain, like the little Quaker looking dude, Quaker Oats?
No, he had the octopus face.
Oh yeah, he is in there actually as a villain. I think I haven't started any of that stuff though because I just kind of got into the game, learning the ropes literally of sailing, and I'm kind of getting my friends into it. And I think we're waiting for one more friend to get into it before we start doing the content of the game like for real, and then explore that. So
Mhm.
even if that thing has a pretty short lifespan as DLC, it's still something we get to do together, and it's fun. I don't know. It's fun
Yeah,
to be
sure.
like it's fun to just okay. So it's definitely a game you want to play with people because it's way more fun with people. But I played it by myself, and after a while, did get bored because I wanted to play with people. And I found what I wanted to do was just take a boat, go sailing, and then try the fishing because you
Mhm.
actually come with a fishing rod. And the fishing in it is actually more intricate and in depth than any other video game that is not a fishing video game. It just
Mhm.
has fishing in it, like the fishing side game, mini games, whatever. This is the most realistic one or intricate one, and like suspenseful too. 'Cause it's like you just kind of it's not like you reel in and you have like a kind of like a spinner lure. It's just a normal bobber with bait on it, and you throw it out, and like you wait, and like once there's a fish that will bite it that comes by, the camera does this cool little thing where if you're just looking forward, it takes your head and just kind of like nudges you down and kind of zooms in very slightly to your line. So it forces you to go, "Oh, what's this?" And some people may like that, some people may not, but like for the people playing a game that's not about fishing, they probably don't mind it at all. And you can actually wait, and as soon as you see it nibble, you actually have to set the hook, and you actually have to pull against the direction the fish is going, and then you actually have to wait a realistically abnormal for a video game long amount of time for that thing to tire itself out before you can start reeling it in. And it
Mhm.
also has tension. It snaps pretty easy. You have to worry about going up and down with your rod, like going down to the water and relieving that tension that way. I don't think you release it too far away in distance, but yeah, it's actually pretty good for a fishing game. And of course, once you reel it in, you actually hold it up because that game has a strangely intricate like item design where if you get an item, you hold that item. if,
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
if it's treasure, you can't hold or pick up anything else. You have to put the
Mhm.
treasure down. And it's kind of like that for food items too. It's like you don't just open up a menu and go, "Oh, I want to eat this, and this," and you right click everything, and all of a sudden your health is full. It's one of those things where you hit it and then you pull out, like your character actually physically pulls out like a banana or something. You'll just be holding a banana. And here's the other cool thing: it's not just a one use thing. Every item in there, seemingly every item, has like a normal function, but like the right click will make it so your character holds it out to in front of you. Like if another character is near you,
Yeah.
they can just come grab that banana if you're holding it out. If you're holding up
Mhm.
a map, which you do need to do because you need to go in your map room after you accept a quest to figure out where you are, you can look at the map and then you have to go away from the map and then look at your little quest map that shows you where the X is on the spot, what island it is, what it looks like. So then you can go to your big map and go, "Oh, that island looks like this island. Let's sail there."
Yep.
And then hopefully you're right. But like, in order to not be in order to not be annoyed by that process, you can just have a teammate come up and hold that quest map out, and he flips it around and shows you the face of the map while you're actually looking down. I was like, dude, this encourages teamwork in a way that I've never seen a video game require it so like intricately, like specifically.
Yeah,
Um,
that's really cool.
yeah, it's there's a lot in the mechanics and maybe not a whole lot of content behind it because for years before this, you just went around to islands and you fought skeletons or a ghost and then you took their treasure and you sold it at a merchant and that was it.
Yeah. But for people who do like that though, I mean, I know people where like once Sea of Thieves came out, it's all they play.
Yeah.
even though for some people there's not enough in it, but there's one person I used to watch on Twitch, but when Sea of Thieves came out, they just became a full-time Sea of Thieves streamer
Damn.
forever, and
I will say though, I kind of get to that point sometimes when I play, even this early on in the game. And I think it's because, and I guess I didn't really put it together until now, but I compare it back to Valheim again. The thing I loved about Valheim was I was sailing and actively discovering and uncovering a map of which no one else had, because each world is different, being that it's procedurally generated. The map in Sea of Thieves is just a universally shared open sea map, and it is it's a nice big sea to sail through, but you definitely can get to the corners of the map like within a fairly short amount of time. Just sail for a little bit at full speed, and then like maybe like 10-15 minutes you're there. And I don't know, is it spoilers for a game like Sea of Thieves? It's I don't want to. Okay, so
I don't care about spoilers.
All right, well, in Valheim, do you care about Valheim spoilers? Because did I tell you this already? I think I told you.
I have sailed
at the end
to
of the map?
each edge of the world. Yeah.
Did I tell you what
Valheim
happens
already?
Did I tell you what's at the end of the map though?
I've done it.
Okay, good. So you've fallen off the edge.
Yes.
Okay, loved that. I was a little disappointed that it was just so unceremoniously like, and then I died. But
I was terrified of it.
I was
so
too.
Scared. It was weird. Like, I'm sailing to the edge of the map, and it's like, I don't know how the game is going to behave. I'm like, is there going to be an invisible wall? Am I just going to fall out of this? Like, what? Or is the wind going to blow against me to stop me? Like, what's going to happen? And then, you just fall, and you fall in, like we're talking about, you fall into the abyss, dude.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. All of a sudden, I'm in the abyss before I even know what's happening.
Yeah, and I have the desire to do that in Sea of Thieves too, and I'll let you know about that in a second. But the thing I love about sailing in Valheim was that I was actively uncovering a map. I felt like I was being productive by just dicking around and I was helping out the rest of the people by showing them, oh hey, there's an island over here. Maybe it has that boss on it. We can go to it later. You actually have to sail to find bosses in that game. And and with this, it's just one big open map, so you kind of just, all the islands are the same. They're in the same place. It's just who's what and where. But when you get to the end of the map in Sea of Thieves, it is terrifying. But like, it's not. I guess it's because it's not a Norse mythology thing. But the end of the map just doesn't end. It's not just a waterfall into nothingness. What happens is, first of all, you leave the square. And after you leave the square, all the islands are pretty much gone out of sight. You're just sailing in water. And then after the square of the map is gone and you're just kind of sailing into uncharted water, the waves will just get kind of get bigger. Like the seas will get a little bit rougher. There'll be a storm over here or there, whatnot. But once you go off the map, like literally off the paper map itself, you're going into like this dark area. Man, it gets kind of even more terrifying. So the water and the air, the mist around, it gets really misty around you. The water turns red and more red and more red. The sky turns red. It gets like the ash starts falling down a little bit from what I remember, like kind of like how Valheim at actually, but it also depends.
If you go to the Ashlands.
Yeah. And there's the Ashlands there, and like dude, I'm sitting here with my buddy in the boat. We're just two-manning it. Like, okay, there's damage being incurred on the ship. We can tell because noise is starting to happen as waves hit me. And everything is just blood red. It looks like we're in this map here. Like, it looks like we're in Doom. Except it's in the ocean, and the ocean waves are big, and they're scary, and now there's blood. So he's below the deck, and he's putting up wood on all the holes, and there's just more and more holes coming. And he says, dude, he's on the bottom deck. There's three layers of this particular boat. He's on the very bottom repairing the holes. He's like, dude, I can't. It starts drowning him out of that floor. So there's so much just blood just piling up in the bottom of the boat, pooling up. And he's going to the next level. He goes, oh my God, there's more holes. And he just keeps puncturing holes in the ship. And he's just like, taking the bucket and then just shoving blood out of the ship while we're going down. And all of a sudden, a wave just comes over the top, and we're underneath the water enough to where the wave washes clean over the ship. And then, we just start sinking, and it's terrifying because the music also makes it more terrifying. I didn't mention the music, but the music it's scary.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds like kind of what I wanted Valheim to do, honestly.
But me too.
I like what Valheim did, but I was kind of hoping it would be something like that, where it goes on forever, but it gets fucked right away.
Yeah. I just wanted there to be some kind of evil, gigantic sea creature out there that just ends us quick at some point, though. But it never happened.
Yeah.
You just kind of see how long you can last.
Yeah.
And then for no reason, because there's nothing out there, you just are now watching, like poking your head underwater and watching your gigantic ship just go into the red, bloody abyss, and now you're just in the water, and there's nothing out here. And it's terrifying.
Sweet. Well, that's Sea of Thieves. Yeah, it seems like a cool game if you got your co-op buddies to play with.
Yeah, and people are real dicks in it too. It's like I'm
right, because it's a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Or not just cooperative.
Yeah, man. Me and him, like before we set sail to do all that, we're passing by an outpost, which is where you sell all your shit. Neutral ground, but friendly fire is on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a boat, and it's a big, pretty, like beautiful boat. These people have put money into paying to have the paint and everything. And we passed by. I was like, why don't we just buzz them? Because like they weren't being dicks to us. We found them, so we just decided to sail up. So we just buzzed them on the right side, and I'm just sitting here with my accordion out, just playing like, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing? We're sailing by, just trying to be friendly. 30 cannonballs just come right our way, right in my face, and like my boat sunk like maybe 20 feet going that way, and then I was like, wow, this is a bunch of fucking dicks.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent the rest of the game chasing them down and failing at killing them every time because they have much better equipment than we do. And at one point, like we ditched our boat and we swam on the other side of an island just to get on their boat and try to like fuck it up, but we couldn't. Like they kept spawning on their boat. We killed them all, and we thought they would spawn like at the outpost, but no, they just kept spawning on the boat, and it was just 2 of us versus 4 of them. And I was like, God damn it! I really wanted to like sink their boat or steal it, one or the other.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, because in that game, nothing's actually permanent. Like a session, depending on, like if you just do the normal free sale, a session is a session. You don't keep your treasure. You keep your gold that you sell treasure for, but if you have treasure and you die, you lose it, or stuff like that. You can go back and find it, but if it's in water, 5 minutes is all you get before it starts sinking.
Mm-hmm.
So people online are dicks, but if you can have fun, I recommend it.
Excellent. Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
We hit the 2-hour mark almost too.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, next time, ask me about. I've been playing some Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about this because I've never played it, but I beat 10.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we can talk about 10 next time, and then I'll tell you about 10 too. So,
stoked for it.
Yeah, come back for that.
Yep. Well, if that's all, I guess we can end it here.
Yeah, thanks for chatting.
Yeah.
And thanks you guys for listening.
We appreciate all the downloads, all the live people hanging out in the YouTube streams. Oh shit, I just realized we have to work to get this on the other platforms too. We got to get the audio up. We're paying for hosting and we're not putting these episodes up. Anyway, we'll fix that soon.
I'm getting them up there.
Oh, are you? I actually,
yeah.
I assumed I was. Okay, nice. Awesome. Well, we got some up there. Anyways, we are Invictus Nux and Dash Retro. We can both be found on Twitch and Twitter. And here on YouTube, as all the way down. Give us a follow or subscribe. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, dudes.
See you later.
Later, guys. Bye.